advice session. My name is Fiona, I'm the Taubmans Colour Specialist, and we are here this evening for another session to help you, whether you're embarking on a renovation or a project and you'd love some advice, we can certainly help you. If you're looking for, the next best colour to use in a space, look, we're here to talk about colour. I can talk about colour till the cows come home. And if you'd like to know about our wonderful products that we have available to bring your projects to life, I can help you with that as well. So the way our sessions work are, we are live, or we're streaming for the first half an hour in front of the camera. And it is a great opportunity for you to pop any questions that you do have into our feed, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. But have no fear, after the half an hour, we're still here, just not in front of the camera, still behind the computer and tapping away, helping to answer all of those further questions that come through. So that's how we work these sessions, but I'll give you another tip as well. The sessions are based on all of your questions and feedback. So what we do is every fortnight we come to life, so to speak, and tonight's one of those nights. But prior, we go through all of our social media channels, have a look at the most reoccurring questions and bring them to life. We like to keep it real because this is about you, so that we can assist you to, bring that beautiful space to life. So here we are. So I am going to begin, and I have quite a few questions that have already come through. But as I said, we're live. Now's the time. Pop your questions into the feed. The one thing I did forget to mention is if you're wanting to share images or photos of a space that you're wanting some help with, while we're live, unfortunately, you cannot pop them into the feed. It's a Facebook thing. But when we stop streaming, you can certainly pop them into the feed. And again, I'll do my best to have a look and give you some advice. Okay, so the first query I have, or the first question I have is, what colour can I use for a feature wall? So now look, there's a bit of a debate, are feature walls in, are they not? Look, feature walls are in. I mean, we are seeing trends, commonly known as, I'll explain to you, like colour drenching, and there's another question there about that as well. And colour drenching is when you're painting your ceilings, walls, doors and trims in the same colour, and it can look fantastic, and the results can be quite impacting, dramatic, or very subdued depending on, the type or level of colour that you choose to use. And you know what, it even really works well with whites, light tones, because if you've got a small space and you're wanting it to appear larger, you can sort of create the illusion of more space by using the right colour. And as I said, it works really well with whites, painting your ceiling, your walls and your doors and trims in that same colour, but using the most applicable products, because you have varying sheen levels, and we do have products that are fit for purpose. And then you can create that space, because what happens is when you've got a wall painted in a particular colour and then you've got, say, a white ceiling, the eye stops where that colour meets. When there's no change and you've got your wall and your ceiling in the same colour, the eye just looks up and over, and it helps to create that illusion of more space. So back to the feature walls, and what colours can I use for feature walls? Pretty much, what I would guide you with. It all depends on your space and how you're wanting it to feel. Colour can be very emotive, and there's a lot of psychology attached to colour. So if you're wanting to, let's take a bedroom, for example, you're wanting to make it a really relaxing, calm space, go for those softer tones, and like blues and greens work really well in that sort of environment. If you're looking to create sort of that cocooning effect, and it's for a lounge or a theatre space, you can pick something that's really dark, moody, quite opulent if you like, even sort of working in tones such as, I'm going to say, dark warm charcoals, even chocolate tones, even going into nutmeg sort of tones, and even rich burgundy wine tones work really well in that sort of space. Or what is another simple trick if you're looking to create a feature wall, and it is for a bedroom, have a look at the colours that surround. The best designed space is by using repetition, and by that I mean is, if you've got a doona cover, for example, that's got dusty pink in it, you could paint your wall in dusty pink, and then you could accessorize with some dusty pink accessories. So you've got that repetition happening, that colors featuring throughout, and it just creates a wonderful space. So I'd look for what you've got happening in your room. Even the color of your lounge, etc., can help dictate what sort of color to use for feature wall. I hope that helps. I do have another question in here from Kim. Hi Kim, thank you very much for joining us this evening. So you're saying, what are the colour trends for this summer? Here are our colour trends. This is our latest colour trends book. And you can see here, so it's called Home and it's available on our website as well. And that's the colour palette at the moment. There's pretty much a colour design for everybody in here. Lots of information about, as I touched on a moment ago, about using the right product that's fit for purpose. Here's a bit of a guide here. So, it's telling you that you can use the C is for ceiling, your walls, W is for walls, D for doors and trims, etc. And it gives you product advice, but it also lays out, for example, let me show you, living in theatre space, it's telling you where, I'm back to front here, it's telling you where you can use that colour by the notations and what product's applicable. But so grab this. Look, as I said, I'll tell you what we're seeing trending at the moment, and you would have heard me if anybody's tuned into this before, green is being described as the new neutral. Green is wonderful. There are so many shades of green. I think it was probably about 3 years ago that sage green really became very popular, and it still is. And sage green, it depends on how people interpret it. It can be something that is a soft green that is anything from a eucalypt style green, succulent style green grey, going to a minty green. So it's quite varied. And as I said, it depends on how people interpret it, but that style of green looks fantastic. We're also seeing very organic, earthy style green, so a little bit more depth. And I should get some up just to show you. So something like, where are we? Something like, beautiful tone here, Albion Park is very much, if you'd like to say, a trending colour. And then going for, here we go, and so is something like this as well. Where are we? You've got your palm frond, and then going into lazy days. We're also seeing citrus style greens, so greens that have a little bit more of a yellow. So what I'm showing you is almost greyed off. We're seeing very sort of tonal colours coming into play. And when I talk about tonality in a colour, tonal tends to talk about a colour, so taking a hue and adding grey. So it's a little bit more greyed off. Beautiful tones to work with. Another beautiful green, and this would happen to be one of my favourites as well, is a colour called Highland Meadow. So these are the types of tones or colours that we're seeing. Also, terracotta tones are really big, and wine tones. So anything sort of running down, even into these deep tones, are very much playing really well in the colour space at the moment. And let me show you, we've got dusty, muted sort of pink tones. These sort of muted pinks going into nudes, and then also terracotta. And there is one particular, a colour called Nutmeg, and even Pale Russet or Sombrero are wonderful tones. I'm giving you a lot of tones here that you can work with. And we're also seeing whites tending to shift towards slightly warmer as opposed to cooler toned whites. And that's because of that beautiful modern Mediterranean sort of aesthetic that's trending, that's coupled with beautiful stone, natural elements like terrazzo, travertine, and they're slightly warmer. So a wonderful colour if you're looking for a particular neutral. There is one here that happens to be my favourite at this point in time. Let's hope I can find it. Not sure why I can't. Here we go. Wonderful colour here. Second one from the bottom, a tone called Aria Ivory. Sensational colour. But there's a few different colours there that's giving you a little bit of an insight to what's trending at the moment. If you're stuck, default to green. You can't go wrong. Thanks. Okay. Hi, Charisse. Thank you for joining us. You're saying, hello, Fiona. I'm on my second account tonight. Okay. I'm with you now. Just took me a moment to work out. Nice to have you. So a question for our side gates. Okay, outside in the weather. Our home is dune roof, dune and gutters, and shale grey. Would you recommend the gates? They will be timber and painted, to be painted the same colour as the house, the gutters, or something completely different. Okay, so let me just go through that again. So you have your home is June, our home is June, your roof is June, and your gutters are shale grey. I'm wondering whether you should be bringing the shale grey down to your gates. As I was just talking about having repetition repetition's key to creating a really well balanced, cohesive colour scheme. And so if you've got a colour sort of standing alone, it's kind of nice to have it featuring somewhere else, so it helps to connect it all. And another really important factor when you're doing an exterior or an outside colour scheme is sometimes less is more. So if you've got, I would look to have 3, maybe 4 maximum colours. So looking at, for example, 60-30-10 rule is a guiding principle when you're creating a colour scheme. So 60% is your main colour, 30% is your secondary colour, and 10% is your accent colour. And your accent colour, when we're talking about an exterior facade, may perhaps just feature for a front door, like adding a pop of colour on the front door, which is kind of a gateway to what people may, it's kind of like an invitation and a gateway to what people may, perhaps expect as they come into your home. So, bringing that, you could put a little bit of colour on the front door that then leads inside, and you've got repetition of that colour as well. So given that you've got shale grey, let me just have a look at the colours here. Shale grey, June. I would almost be inclined to say go shale grey. Or if you were to introduce another colour, let me just have a look and see. I'd be looking at going potentially, if you've got those 2, using one of those, but we would be, if you like, just enhancing one of those colours, intensifying, that's the word I'm looking for, intensifying one of those colours. So let me just have a look. And I guess the other thing, Cherise, are you coastal? Or are you more sort of in a bush setting? Can you let me know? Because I'm just thinking if you're coastal, it's kind of nice just to keep it light as well. I'm not going too heavy. Let's have a look. Okay, so here's what I would suggest. Either you go shale grey, or you could go thundercloud, and they all work beautifully together. Or I'm even thinking you could even introduce a white of some description or something that's just that little bit lighter. Again, depends on where you're situated. Abstract. Okay, yes, cans, beautiful. This actually looks quite nice as well. So could go lighter. Abstract half here works beautifully with June. Oops, back to front. And also complements shale grey really well. So that could work as well. Or, as I showed you before, thunder. Or do you go, here's something else. Actually, I think this is quite nice. What about gazebo white? So you've got abstract half, gazebo white, or thundercloud. For me, I think that the gazebo white's pairing back beautifully with these 2, and it's going to just add a little bit of just a little bit of white, very reminiscent of coastal, but not being too white. So that's probably the way I would suggest. Have a look, see how that works for you. Let me know, Cherise. I can certainly give you some more tips. Not a problem at all. All right, thanks. What else have I got here? All right, what are the green-based greys? That's a really good question. And there was something else that came in about painting. What light green grey do you recommend to paint my exterior, which is fully cladded? Okay, so green-based greys, as I was talking about before, it's got that tonality to it, so they're quite tonal. So I would be looking at, what have we got here? Again, you've got your palm frond, lazy days, grey heron. So these are quite greeny grey, beautiful. And if you're painting the exterior, you could look at, depending on how light you want to go. Now remember, when you're using colour externally, colours have a tendency to lighten up in full sun around 30%, so they can dilute out quite a bit. So thanks, Cherise. You're saying, thank you. I like the gazebo white too. Our front door is like a timber whitewash, so it will all blend well. Thank you. Too easy. You're very, very welcome. I think you're on a winner there with gazebo white. I think it's going to work really, really well. Okay, so for the exterior, for an exterior facade with a green grey, quite light, have a look at either, you could have a look at either Night Frost, which is the top one, or Misty Lake. I think they're going to work really, really well. There is another very soft green grey that you could also have a look at. It's still greyed off with a slight green undertone, and it's a colour called Movie Star, which is the top one here. But what I recommend doing when you're looking at exterior colours, or when you're looking at any colours really for that matter, it's really important to test your colour. And so for exterior, as I mentioned, they have the ability to lighten up around 30% when they're outside. So I would recommend testing them. And the best way to do that is to get yourself a sample pot and get yourself a large piece of cardboard. For me, when I'm looking at colour and wanting to see how it's going to perform, I'm looking to use a large piece of cardboard around 1 metre by 1 metre square. So I then recommend painting out 3 coats, obviously leaving adequate drying time in between each coat. Now I know that our products are generally a 2-coat system, but that 3rd coat is going to aid as an undercoat. So I think it's really important. So 3 coats. Now what I would do is put it out in full sun, having a look at the colour, seeing how it works for you. But then also equally as important is taking it around where you're not getting a lot of full sun, or a lot of sun if you like, and having a look how the colour works for you there as well. That way, testing it in all areas allows you to be well educated around how that colour works, performs in your environment, and ensures that you're going to be really happy with it. Now the same applies when we're looking at colour internally. So you've made your swatch, your metre by 1 metre square, you've got your 3 coats, you've allowed adequate drying time. Now once dry, there's 2 areas in a room where you should test it. So you first, here's your wall, here's your floor. So you put your dry sample up against the wall, touching the floor, looking at it in natural light. Now natural light is when you see colour in its purest form. So you're doing that, and you're also going to take into consideration, for example, if you've got timber flooring, certain times of the day, let's say we're testing whites, the white can potentially look slightly warmer. And also if you've got, for example, here we go, say you've got a red leather lounge, certain times of the day, the whites can potentially look pink on your wall. So just understanding that. I want you also to test it of an evening in that spot with your lights on, so you can see how the colour works under your lighting, because again, colour can change under varying degrees of light. Now you've tested it here. Now you swap it, so you've got your ceiling, you've got your wall, you're testing your sample up here, right on the wall top, so it's touching your ceiling. And again, natural light, so you can see it in its truest form, but then again, artificial lighting, so with your lights on, so you can see how the color works for you. I recommend doing that and testing it around varying rooms in your home so you can see how color plays, because in full, like when you've got rooms that are saturated in a lot of natural light, your colors can appear a lot lighter and brighter. But then in areas where you lack lighting, if you're using, for example, a white that tends to be more blue based, in those areas it can potentially look a little bit dull or gloomy. So it's really important to test and try to ensure that it works for you. I hope that helps. Thanks. I'm just reading. Okay, hi Alison, thanks for joining us. So you're saying that we asked a couple of questions a few weeks back. So we're building a new house in more of a leafy bush than beach setting. We have narrowed our exterior down to horizontal cladding. So you've got high reaches. You have June, so I need to just get myself organised here. So I've got June, you have high reaches. Let's have a look. And pearl white powder coated windows and a ColourBond horizontal garage in pearl white. We're a bit stuck on what colour tone to run with the fascia and gutters. These will be in ColourBond also. My husband is thinking we should stick to white. Here, however, I have seen a few examples of houses where they've used a colour or tone more in, like with June, perhaps a tone or two darker. What do you think would work best here? Okay, so we have a ColourBond roof. I quite like, if you've got a ColourBond roof, basically having your gutter and fascia an extension of your roof. So having the roof guttering and fascia in the same colour can work really, really well. So going with June would look fantastic. And then saying that you have, I'm just going to read this again, you're cladding in high reaches and then you're white. So you have effectively a white garage door, white windows, a ColourBond roof, and then you're cladding in high reaches. I would, after reading that again, definitely say go ColourBond June for your guttering and fascia. I'm just seeing if I've missed anything here. You could go darker, but what happens is it depends on the look that you're after. So the minute you potentially put darker guttering and, excuse me, a darker fascia, it almost puts a band around your home, whereas having the roof and your guttering and fascia in that same colour, as I said a moment ago, it's just an extension of the roof and then it kind of blends into your cladding facade really nicely without having quite a definite darker line going around. That would be my advice to you. I'm just going to get high reaches up here. Yeah, I think that would work really, really well. And I'm just going to use, for example, I know you're having pearl white, but I'm just going to use Dover white just to put a white element in this colour scheme. Let me just show you if you were to add another tone or add something slightly darker. Let's not go that dark. I mean, you could, for example, use something like, I'm looking at Wallaby, but just to give you an example for your guttering and fascia, if you were to order it in ColourBond. So there's Wallaby back to front here. There's Wallaby, there's June, and as I've said, I've just put Dover white in just for a white, so to speak. And then you've got your high reaches. I think if you take the darker tone out, I think having high reaches with June and then having your white windows and your white garage door is quite soft. And that would be the way I would go. If you wanted that darker tone, Wallaby is suitable, as is, let me see what else. Okay, oh hi Alison, you've just come back saying the ColourBond garage is Dover white. Perfect. High reaches is a beautiful tone. The other one you could look at, and I think we may have explored this the last time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be abstract Abstract half or even potentially quarter works really well with June. Let me just see if I can get that. Here we go, yep. Let's have a look. Now I'll just see if I can hold all this up and show you. Here is abstract half, and again there is Dover white. I'm all back to front here. There is Dover white, and there is June, and they blend, or they work together really, really well. So that would be another colour to have a look at. And I'm not sure, from memory, I'm sort of jogging my memory from when we last were online, and I believe we may have had this conversation, but I do think High Reaches works. Okay, fair call. Yeah, understand, Alison. She's saying, yeah, the abstract quarter through a little bit too much mushroom. Understand that. Go the High Reaches. So my advice would be stick with High Reaches. Looks beautiful, works really, really well. And I would stick with, obviously you've got your Dover white and then you've got your pearl windows. So you've got that repetition happening. And for your roof, having June, I would then stick with your guttering and fascia being June as well. And I think it'll work really, really well. That would be my advice. Let me know if you want some more assistance. Happy to do so. Thanks. Okay, what have we got here, Charisse? You've come back to me. One more thing. So never be sorry. Very happy to help. So the garage roller door. Would you recommend the same colour as the house, June, gutters, shale grey, or possibly the same colour as the side gates? Thank you again, Charisse. Okay, so what have we got again? Let me just go through that. Sorry. Okay, so your home is June, your roof is June, and your gutters are shale grey. Would you recommend the gates? They will be, so we've talked about that. We're going to go gazebo white to be painted. So your home is June, your roof is June, and your gutters are shale grey. Let me just go back to that. I'm wondering whether are you painting your garage door, or are you putting a new door on, Charisse? There's a question for you. If you're painting it, I'm wondering whether you go gazebo white just to you're welcome, Alison. Not a problem at all. I hope that helps. Thanks for joining. Just pop something else into the feed if you need any more assistance. I'm kind of thinking that, Charisse, if you went surf mist or gazebo white. So if you're painting, gazebo white. If you're not painting and you're getting a new garage door, I think surf mist. I just think it lifts. I'm so back to front because I'm looking here and the camera's there. Let's just not worry about that. I think it works really well with your June. It's going to sit quite nicely and be a little bit more of a let's say a feature. I guess the other thing to consider as well is what colour are your window frames. Maybe let me know that and then I can give you more of a definite answer on the door. Let's park that till you come back to me. Thanks. Okay, what have I got here? Wonderful. Thanks, Charisse. It will be painted. You know what? Try gazebo white. I think that's going to work really, really well. Let me just get that again. Let's have a quick look and see. Yeah. So then you're going to have that connection as well where you have, so there you go. That's putting that scheme together again. Let's just close those. So you have that connection. The garage door is going to sit nicely against this and having your fences or your gates in that as well. And then as you said, you've got a white door, I think is going to tie in beautifully. So that'd be the way I'd go. Give that one a whirl. See how you go. Let me know. Happy to give you some further suggestions. Okay, hi Candice, thanks for joining us. So you're saying that you've gone and painted all of our trims around our windows and doors are white. That's a bit cool. So yes, you've used Lexicon Quarter, but I was hoping to paint our internal walls a bit more natural to warm, maybe a nice greyish. Will this work or clash? It should work fine. So effectively the colour that we use being cooler is white with just a very small amount of black. So it tends to make it, if you like, sometimes people refer to, I know it's slightly cooler, but it can be slightly brighter as well. So if you're after a greyish or something a little bit more natural, I'm going to give you a couple of ideas that's going to pair back with the colour that you have chosen. Let me just... How intense do you want, Candice, how intense are you looking for the colour to be? Are you wanting it to be quite soft, like, or are you wanting it to be a little bit more, what's the word? Saturated? Because I'll give you a few examples. I'm just trying to find this tone as well. Where are we? Let's have a look. I'll find a colour. Beautiful. Okay, so you could potentially and I'm just going to put these colours up against a colour that we have, which is called Miss Universe, which is basically a white that tends to have a splash of black. So you could go Pebble Bay half, and let me just show you how that pairs back beautifully. It's still quite soft. They work together. Really, really well. So that one here is Pebble Bay. That's certainly, yeah, soft. No worries, Candice. So have a look. Pebble Bay half is a colour that I think you should write down and have a look at. It's certainly it's chipped on our colour wall, so you can have a look at it first of all before deciding if it's what you had imagined. Because when you're looking at colour on a screen, so to speak, can't even get my words out. Depending on the pixelation in your screen, the colours can vary. So it's always good to test your colour or pick up a chip as a starting point. So Pebble Bay half is a really good one to begin with. And I actually think you could have a look at, where are we? Where's South Pole? There's another colour called Grey Matter that I think is definitely well worth. It's a little bit more of a neutral colour, so it sits more in that neutral space. So you can't really define it as being warm or cool. And it's fantastic, and I think this could work really, really well with the trims that you have. So I'm going to show you that as well, if I can get it to work on screen for you. So here we go. That is the colour here. It's a colour called, as I said, Grey Matter. Have a look at that one as well. And then the last but not least, if you're wanting something that is slightly warmer, potentially, like a warm sort of neutral, I would suggest as well. So I'm giving you a little bit of a variation here in colours just to view. And I mentioned this when I first hopped on screen tonight, a colour called Aria Ivory, which is fabulous, which is this colour here. Now remember, I'm lit up here like a Christmas tree. There's that much lighting that you're not really seeing the true colour, but have a look at that one as well. I think either of those could work really, really well for you. So I hope that helps. Let me just make sure. You're very welcome, Cherise. Oh, you've got black frames. Yep, that's going to work fine, thanks. Oh, you bought the house. Everything was dark, so these lighter colours will work just so well. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you joining us. So that concludes our session tonight, everyone. Thank you very much for popping your questions in. No worries, Candice. You're very welcome. She says, I love those. I'll get a sample of Pebble Bay Half and Grey Matter. Thank you so much. Extremely welcome. Okay, I'm going to be signing off from here in front of the camera. But having said that, I will be behind the computer for the next half an hour. So if you do have any further questions, pop them into the feed. I'll do my very best to answer them for you. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. And have a fantastic week. We'll be back in a couple of weeks again. If you do have questions throughout that time, you're very welcome to send us a message. And I'll certainly get back to you. But until then, everybody, stay safe and happy painting. Thanks very much. Bye.